October 19th of 2009. I got a phone call and with some troubling news. And after the phone call, I mean, I was angry, I was hurt. And in a disheveled way, I went to my bedroom, got my handgun, loaded it, got in my car, and headed to his house. So we've been married 20 years. We met and married in 1995 in Springfield, Missouri.
We were married in his church that he'd grown up in. It was a cold November day and a beautiful ceremony filled with family and friends. From then on, we started our family, and 10 years deep, we had 3 beautiful children, 2 boys and a girl. And Aaron got a call to be a associate pastor at a church in Midland, Texas.
Ministry for me was going exactly how I was hoping it would go. Just everything that I felt God had called me to do. And the one negative is I was neglecting the very first ministry he had called me to do, which was my family. He's
growing and he's got all these things he's doing, and everybody was, oh, Aaron this, Aaron that. And I would always get, well, you don't act like a pastor's wife. So I always felt kind of like I didn't fit in. And I just started feeling very alone, and I didn't know what my place was. And during that time, it led me to having an affair, and that went on for quite some time, and long enough that the Lord allowed it to be exposed. And from there on, our life changed forever.
You know, you get the news that nobody ever wants to hear. I just lost it. I mean, I didn't know, like I said, I had no plan, didn't know what was going on. Went, grabbed my gun, headed to his house. On the way over there, my best friend calls me out of the blue and told him what I was doing and where I was going. I was going to this guy's house, and I was gonna solve the problem. And at that moment, he told me that I needed to turn around, go home. So I turned around, went to the house, and prepared for the fallout.
With me, I was at home waiting and not knowing what was coming in the door. Is it going to be a husband that's forgiving and saying, here, we're going here, and we've got all this healing ahead of us, we've got this in place, or you need to pack your bags, you're out of here. My heart was free in the Lord, but I was very weighted down by the sin and what I had caused. It was unsure as what our future was going to look like.
I called the pastor through a series of events. Was told that healing wasn't an option through the church. So that wasn't an option. And then, you know, I lost my job as a pastor. So now after that meeting, now I'm going home to be in the same home with a woman who I didn't want to see, who I felt didn't want to be around me. I mean, because of what had happened. But even then, I didn't know how that was ever going to work out. I didn't know what God was going to have to do to step in. Yeah, we didn't feel like at that time that Midland was going to be the place for us. And so I knew, you know, her family was up around the Dallas area. You know, we knew we needed to get some counsel. And I called the village, got a hold of a secretary, and that changed everything. I told him our story, and she interrupted me right in the middle of our story and said, no, I don't need to hear anymore. And I said, well, you probably do, because no one else is taking us, kind of a thing. And she said, no, this is what we're all about. You need to get here as fast as you can. And so at that very moment, it was okay. God's speaking, and God is directing us to the village. So yeah, once we got up here and got involved in the church, we got involved in recovery. We got involved in a home group. We had different people speaking into our lives, and everybody was speaking the same message. You know, go to Christ, freedom in Christ, freedom in Christ. And I struggled with that because, and this is kind of where I started, because initially I thought if we can just get her fixed, maybe we'd be all right and we could make it. And I really wasn't expecting that my heart would be exposed. My heart was exposed because of me neglecting my first ministry in my home, that I laid the groundwork for all this. That as a father and as a husband and as the man of the home, I didn't lead spiritually the way I was supposed to. And that was hard to know that I actually had a hand in that. So over time, as we continued to grow and our marriage continued to mend and we continued to grow closer to each other as we grew closer to Christ, we had the opportunity now to go in and teach and actually lead the recovery group. We're able to share hope, not in our story, but hope in Christ who stepped in our story.
We had a wonderful home group who poured into us, who became our community, who became our family. And since October 19th was such a dark day, they decided to have, in a sense, Freedom Day. And we would go out to eat and we would celebrate and we would look back and just see what God had done in our lives, what He brought us out of. And our 4th year, the celebration, I was getting ready for it. And in that getting ready, I found something that took us on a whole new journey.
We get home that night and Jill tells me that she had found a lump before we left. Over the course of 2 months, we find that she's diagnosed with breast cancer. So just about the time we think we're through our storm or we've kind of turned the corner, now this comes. During, the next 2 years, multiple surgeries, 8 or 9 surgeries, radiation, everything that we went through, everything we had gone through previous, God had been so faithful in that we knew He was going to be faithful in this. And it's nothing that either one of us ever did. We screw things up daily. And it's not easy. There's still a lot of hiccups and a lot of speed bumps we go through in this journey. But regardless of that, God is faithful and His character is unchanged. And we find ourselves clinging to that more than we ever cling to each other.